New episode of Watch Me Work. And what am I doing today? Well, what I'm doing today is not terribly interesting, but it's actual editing. This, what you're looking at on my Premiere Pro timeline here, pardon me, is a short film that I finished yesterday, or I'm going back. That I finished Friday. Today is Tuesday. We had Martin Luther King Day off because it's a federal holiday. And I finished this film called Imposter Confessions. It was shot in 4K here in my green screen studio. Had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different participants. And let's see if we can get something to pop up on the screen here. Each participant was shot on a green screen and then put on a different background. And this was supposed to be made into black and white to look like film noir and be kind of mysterious. So I gave each participant a different background. You'll see another one pop up here. They have different focal lengths there. Okay. These are just backgrounds I found on the internet. This one I actually put snow in. Used particle snow to put snow in it. She's kind of standing. Let's get the wide shot there. There we go. She's kind of standing in front of a fence with barbed wire with cars behind it and stuff. I particularly like this one. This is a kind of a dark hallway with pipes on the ceiling and things like that. Very cool. This one is just the woods. She's standing in the woods. And then one fella had to phone it in via Skype. So I put him in kind of a surveillance camera kind of look. And that's no big deal, but that's what you get there. This lady here, again, just another room. This has more particles in the background. Moving particles make it look like dust in the room. Just stuff I added from film clips. And what do we have here? Oh, this is kind of a spooky house. There's that. And then this one was kind of a haunted house. I had fun with this one doing thunder and lightning in the background. Not sure you can actually see it in this mode. So what I'm tasked with, like I said, this is like a 14-minute film, and what I've been tasked with is being able to put together like a 3-minute trailer for this that they can show in a classroom. So in order to do that, I'm not even going to use this timeline. I'm going to use the individual timelines here, and you'll see that each one of these timelines is basically already nested. This one has a drifting fog effect on it that was overlaid and was not part of the nest. If I go like this and see the original nest, what we'll see is no sound because I didn't nest the sound. We have there's an adjustment layer on top that was for the black and white. If I turn that off, you can see that he's in color, but the background's in black and white. So the adjustment layer on top was to give it the overall black and white film noir effect. We also have that's the smoke billowing layer there. You can see what it adds to it there. It really helps blend him into the background. And then there's the back alleyway. And so you can see without the alleyway in there, there's with the alleyway. And now you see the smoke. I use transparency on the smoke channel, obviously, to make that blow through, that mist blow through like that. This is actually, the back alley is actually a video. It's not a still picture. And you can actually see cars going by back on the street. There you see. There's actually a car going by on the street there. Most of these, for all the rest of them, I couldn't find anything live. Except for the woods. I think the woods is something I got from Digital Juice. Pardon me. Anyway, so in order to do this, I'm going to close these nested sequences here. I'm going to go ahead and the cuts you see here is where I change the camera angles. where I changed from a wide shot to a mid shot. Okay. And the background had to be nested with the composited footage in order to be able to pull that off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and nest this whole thing just to make it easier to deal with. I'm talking audio and everything. Okay, that didn't work right. It's not nesting the audio, so whatever. So I'm going to find a clip from this. I have to have the proxies turned on because it won't run smoothly in the 4K format. So I've got a 720p proxy of the composited footage. And let's find a clip here we can use for this to kick it off with.
I'm Dean Wilson, and I'm an imposter. When I started teaching about 25 years ago, I learned that professors were often sought out for consulting. And back in those days, as a practitioner, you used to charge in a small practice maybe $100, sometimes up to $200. When I went to my first institution, Michigan State's law school, a colleague and I were sought out to do some consulting. It was big time. It was with a noteworthy group, the Fab Five, for those of you who might know some basketball lore. We were really challenged. So we went to a senior faculty member and asked him, what did he charge for consulting? And he said, oh, you got to get your money, $400 an hour. And we said, $400? Man, people pay that. We settled on, let's try $200.
Oh.
And we got into negotiation.
Okay, I think we're getting into territory there.
$400. Man, people pay that. We settled on, let's try $200.
Okay, I think I'm going to take that clip there. This also has background sound. It's got ambient sound in it.
We settled on. We were really challenged. So we went to a senior faculty member and asked him, what did he charge for consulting? And he said, oh, you got to get your money. When I went to my first institution...
Okay, I'm going to start there. So I'm going to grab this bit here and put it into a new sequence. But in order to do that, we have to create a new sequence. This sequence will work fine. I know it was done in 29.97. And it's 1080p, which is what we want for this. So that'll work fine. I didn't name it though, so let's go ahead and name it. Just call it Impostor Trailer. Don't ask me why they wanted to spell imposter with an O in the end. Don't know. In order to pull this off, I'm going to do what's called a pancake trailer. Or a pancake trailer. I'm going to do a pancake timeline where I have one on top of the other. Like so. Let's go back to Daryl Wilson. And I'm just going to take what's highlighted here. Oh, and this. Hang on. La-di-da-di-da. Every time you switch sequences. Oh, there it is. Okay. Got it. Okay, so I'm just going to take this bit here. I'm going to drag it up here. So now we've got it up here.
When I went to my first institution, Michigan State's law school, a colleague and I were sought out to do some consulting. It was big time. It was with a noteworthy group, the Fab Five, for those of you who might know some basketball lore. We were really challenged. So we went to a senior faculty member. We're sought out to do some consulting.
All right, I don't want this bit in here. The whole Fab Five bit. Don't want that. Gonna extract that. Ripple delete. But now we're using the same. I've got the same camera angle, but I can change that.
To do some consulting. We were really challenged, so we went to a senior faculty member, and asked him what did he charge for consulting, and he said, "Oh, you got to get your money, $400 an hour." And we said, $400? Man, people pay that. We settled on.
See, there's a cut there, so I'm just going to cut that right there.
An hour. And we said, $400? And asked him what did he charge for consulting, and he said, "Oh, you got to get your money, $400.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch. There's another cut there, so I'm going to cut here. This is the video.
We settled on.
What I can do is I can copy. Actually, let's I can make it simpler than that. I'm going to go to the effects controls, and on the first clip, I'm going to do the mid angle. So I'm going to change the scale to 150. Now you remember we're going to maintain quality here because this was shot in 4K. So now it's going to start close. We're going to go wide, close, wide. Okay, I got my first segment. 8 more to go. So let's go to Lance Long. Now let's go to Kathy Martin next. No, let's go to Dean P next. That's what we're going to do next.
I'm Dean P, and I'm an imposter. Long before I was Dean P, I was Attorney P, working for the United States Department of Justice. One of the first files that I got when I went to the Department of Justice was a taxpayer asking the IRS to provide information about another taxpayer. The short answer is you can't do that. The more technical answer is sovereign immunity says you can't sue the government. So my first file was to file
Make that a lot smaller there.
So my first file was to file a motion to dismiss, to demonstrate to the court that the taxpayer wasn't entitled to other information about another taxpayer, because the government said it couldn't be sued in a circumstance like that. So I had a telephone hearing, and I finished the telephone hearing. The court denied my motion for summary judgment or a motion to dismiss. And I walked out of my office probably a little starstruck at the idea that my motion was denied. And as soon as I walked out of my office, the assistant chief walks by my office, who in my first day has this reputation of being a little bit cranky. And so he said, "So what happened?" And I said, "Well, I had a hearing today." And he said, "So what happened?" I said, "Well, I lost." And he said, "Oh, don't worry, that happens to all of us." And I thought, great, he's not as cranky as I thought. He said, "So what was the case?" And I said, "Well, it was a sovereign immunity case." And he stops, turns around, and says, "You know, we haven't lost one of those in 50 years. And then he walked off.
I think I'm just going to take that clip.
"So what happened?" And I said, "Well, I had a hearing today." And he said, "So what happened?"
A little bit before.
Who in my first day has this reputation of being a little bit cranky. And so he said, "So what happened?" And I said, "Well, I had a hearing today." My motion was denied. And as soon as I walked out of my office, the assistant chief walks by my office.
Now, this one's a little harder. I'm going to go a little bit farther down the line here.
You know, the Department of Justice has been around since 1789. And in one day, I'm going to ruin what's happened over the lifetime of our country. I went back down to the court and argued on a summary judgment motion, ultimately was granted.
Okay.
What's happened over the lifetime of our country.
I think I'll just take that very short clip.
So I thought to myself,
Oh, the crickets didn't come along because they were locked in place. Let me just grab that. There we go. Oops, went a little too far. There we go.
Like $200.
you know, the Department of Justice has been around.
Okay, he's got to be set to frame size. There we go.
Dollar.
You know, the Department of Justice has been around since 1789. And in one day, I'm going to ruin what's happened over the lifetime of our country.
That's good enough. Okay, let's go next with Kathy Martin.
I'm Kathy Martin, and I'm an imposter. I was in a meeting with a number of very learned law professors and others that I admire greatly. And I found myself wondering, what am I doing here?
That's it. That's all I'm going to take right there, because it's about the imposter syndrome, and that makes sense.
Law professor. I was in a meeting.
And you notice when I do this, when I take it and I stretch it up, I pull it up to the other timeline, it doesn't leave this area blank. It stays there in the original, so I don't have to worry about back in.
Our spend over the lifetime of our country.
I was in a meeting.
There we go. Set the frame size again. There we go.
Of our country.
I was in a meeting with a number of very learned law professors and others that I admire greatly. And I found myself wondering, what am I doing here? What am I doing here?
I'm going to cut it there. I just go ahead and hit the Q. Oh, wrong. I want to hit the W. That's what I want to do.
What am I doing here?
And now hit W, and it'll shorten it right up. Doing a quick save. Let's move on to J.R. Swanigan. Oh, we got 3 so far.
I'm J.R. Swanigan, and I'm an imposter. In my final semester of law school, I found myself sitting in a judge's chambers, interviewing for what felt like the job of my dreams at the time. The reason I felt like an imposter would be an understatement to say that I didn't perform as well as I hoped in my first semester of law school. From that point forward, I was digging myself out of a hole each semester after that.
Good. That's all I want right there. And here's the sound effects, the dripping water, and the... I think there are 2 layers of sound effects here on this one. Yeah, okay. All right, I'm just going to take all of this and pull it up here. There you go. Now you'll see that this is also going to require set to frame size. You can see that I'm going where he's on the left, and the next one's on the right, then left, right. Set to frame size did not work as advertised there. It really messed the picture up, didn't it? Well, you can't tell because you're not seeing it on the big screen. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. That's a glitch. So let's go back to motion and do a reset. Now let's do set frame size, and now it's fine.
What am I doing here?
It'd be an understatement to say that I didn't perform as well as I hoped in my first semester of law school. From that point forward, I was digging myself out of a hole each semester after that.
You want to cut him off a little sooner?
with us after that.
Okay, that's all we need from him there. And we hit W, shorten him up. Okay, let's go with Joanne Burnett.
My name is Joanne Burnett, and I am an imposter. After law school, I began practicing at the Office of the Public Defender. I was terrified that any given day, my boss would walk into my office and tell me to...
Oh, this sounds great.
I was terrified that any given day, my boss would walk into my office and tell me to pack my things because I had no idea what I was doing.
Okay, I can already see where the cut is. Set the frame size. There we go.
Of that.
I was terrified that any given day, my boss would walk into my office and tell me to pack my things because I had no idea what I was doing.
Okay. Let's go.
When I went to my
Let's go with Chrissy Cerniglia. And I know this one pretty well. I think I know right what I'm going to go for here.
My name is Chrissy Cerniglia, and I am an imposter. So my first week of teaching in an academic classroom, I was being audited by Professor Davis. I was using technology. I felt I was doing such a great job. I clicked on, to this day, I swear to you, it was Westlaw. So my first week of teaching in an academic classroom, I was being audited by Professor Davis. I was using technology. I felt I was doing such a great job. I clicked on, to this day, I swear to you, it was Westlaw. And when I looked back at the teaching monitor, it was a porn site.
Okay, so let's take it from here.
So my first week of teaching in an academic classroom, I was being audited by Professor Davis. I was using technology.
Okay, we're going to start with I was using technology and take it to the end of that one. And that's good enough for that one.
No idea what I was doing.
I was using technology.
Set the frame size.
Idea what I was doing.
I was using technology. I felt I was doing such a great job. I clicked on, to this day, I swear to you, it was Westlaw. And when I looked back at the teaching monitor, it was a porn site.
Ha. Okay, I passed right over Lance Long, so let's get him in there.
My name is Professor Lance Long, and I am an imposter. It started in law school. I was kind of afraid of a lot of smart people being around me. It continued into the practice of law when I met a lot of very forceful, aggressive people who seemed to know a lot. Finally, my imposterism caught up with me when I became a law professor. Everyone started using such big words and such complicated organizational schemes. I was afraid. I didn't know if I could hang with this group. Eventually,
Okay, that's good. That's good right there.
Group.
That's good right there. So we're going to cut this as an overlay, and then there we go.
Everyone started using such big words.
Yep, that's where I'm going to take.
Everyone started using such big words and such complicated organizational schemes. I was afraid. I didn't know if I could hang with this group.
Okay, Nina Hayden.
My name is Nina Hayton, and I'm an imposter. A few years ago, I ran for the school board of Pinellas County, and I remember thinking to myself, is this something that I can really do? First of all, am I even going to get elected? And then second of all, once I do, what am I going to do? I really don't know anything about running or being a member of a school board or participating in any of the school events or anything like that.
That's good enough.
Any of the school events or anything like that.
Okay.
First of all, am I even going to get elected? A few years ago, I ran for the...
Why is it cut off like that? That's because it's already nested. And take that a little bit and see if I can.
My name is Nina Hayton.
Excuse me. It's got to be set to frame size. Again, we've got that issue where now let's do set for frame size.
The school board of Pinellas. Good. My name is Nina Hayton, and I'm an imposter. A few years... I'm an imposter. A few years...
Q, ripple delete.
I could hang with this group.
A few years ago, I ran for
This group.
A few years ago, I ran...
Yeah, that's really weird stuff going on right there. And I can't see it, but I can try to render the audio there. It's going to take a minute. It's probably about time for me to go, so we probably ought to just cut this off right here, but you can see exactly how I've been working, how I've been doing this to pull this together. I've got a couple of little glitchy things to deal with that are little weird things with Premiere Pro when it comes to nesting sequences. I'm going to work that all out, and I'll have this thing out first thing tomorrow morning when I come back to work. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little exercise of watching me work, watching me edit, and let me know if you have any questions. See you next time.